Hello everyone, today we're in the garden and we have a ton to get done. So let's see what we can get done. One of the things I've noticed is these tomatillos need repotting. So could this chili plant in particular do with repotting. I haven't got these pumpkins out yet and this chili looks like it could do with repotting. I have an ant infestation in here again. I need to prune tomatoes. So basically in this video, I just have a bunch of footage over the last kind of couple months. I kind of say May through to kind of the end of June, where I'm just doing garden maintenance and getting everything in order. So these tomatoes have grown a lot bigger now. Now we're at the end of July, but at this time this is how tall they were. And I had a disease, which I'll pop in a picture of in a minute, that hit my tomatoes this year. I'm not 100% sure whether it was blight or something else, but I knew that I really had to keep my tomatoes well pruned. This is what that plant looked like. I ripped that plant out. I haven't replaced it because I don't know if the soil there is a problem. And then the rest of the plants, I did a baking soda spray that I found the recipe to online, and sprayed all the leaves. I cut the bottom leaves off, and I've continued to cut them off until they're quite high off the ground. And I've also mulched around them now, so that the water doesn't splash up at them so much when I'm hosing them. So overall, the disease hasn't really spread to the other plants, and I'm hoping that continues to be the case. If you know what that was, please let me know. I still am not 100% sure. But basically, I knew that it was really important this year to keep these tomatoes well pruned. The only ones I struggle on are the ones that I'm working on right now. That's more of a bush variety of tomatoes, as it's really hard to prune them. They're just so full. They don't really grow upwards, they grow more outwards, so it makes it really difficult to prune those, but the rest are all pretty well pruned at this point. And I'm just going through each plant one by one, and I'm also sanitizing my pruners and my hands between each plant, just because I didn't want the disease to spread, and I didn't know which plants it really hit at that point. I had noticed some dodgy leaves on all of them, but luckily, luckily it's been okay so far. But anyway, I hope you enjoy kind of seeing all the maintenance that I've gotten to. So these are my tomatoes after they've been fully pruned, and you can see I pulled that one plant out. That was a problem. And this was, I went back and checked, this was the 12th of June when I was with those tomato plants and with this plant bed, I believe. And here, I've planted a bunch of stuff, it didn't grow. To be honest, I've planted more now and it still hasn't really grown. So this is just the problem patch of the year. There's some stuff growing in it, but there's just not a lot. It's not like the rest of the garden. And that's okay, that happens every year. There's always a little area that struggles more, and you have to kind of put your attention on everything, and that can be a struggle. So basically, I just wanted to go through this, weed it all, and then plant a bunch more stuff and see if I had any luck. And I have had a few more things come up now, so that's a good sign. This area kind of gets the least sunlight, the least kind of attention, so it's no surprise that it doesn't do as well as some of the other areas. And next year I do plan to do something different with this area, because I don't plan to put the tomatoes where they are this year, because I want to move them around and make sure diseases and stuff are less common next year. So I think this area next year will have some different things in it and maybe it'll do a bit better. But there are some things planted in here, so I have to be quite careful. But my kale I have planted in here gets destroyed every time by some sort of insect. So I'm just trying to carefully go through and take out everything that's not meant to be in them. So once it was all weeded, I went to get some more things planted in there and add some more nutrients to the soil. So here I had some leeks that I had been growing in the greenhouse and I decided it was time to get them out, so I'm putting them at the back of this bed and then a couple spotted around. And then here I'm just popping a bunch of seeds that can all grow in June into my hand and I'm just going to pour them on top of the soil and see what happens. So it's just going to be a bit of a wild area and just potluck really because nothing else has really worked, so I figured I might as well try this method, and if that doesn't work as well, that's okay. And then I'm just watering in those new seeds. This was before the hosepipe ban in my area started. I think this was still in June. I think it's the same day, to be honest, June 12th. And then I'm over in the bed to the left, basically just weeding, and I'm also going to plant in some spring onions. I think I plant on this day, so I'm making a bit of a trench. I already have a bunch of spring onions that you can see right at the front, but I want some more spring onions for later on in the season, so. This bed looks a lot different now. It has so many like bushy plants going on. It was really hard to maintain because I planted everything quite close together, but it's okay. The spring onions come in this like strip of, it's like toilet paper basically, but with onions, plant seeds in it, and then you just water that into the ground. It works pretty well actually. And this was the last of my spring onion seeds for this year. Then this was the day that I prepared I think it's still the same day, the baking soda soap water to spray the leaves with. And I did that a few times on different days, but it really irritated my hands. And then on this day, I got some flowers to add to the garden. I never normally add flowers, but I really wanted to encourage the bees and everything over to my pumpkins and stuff. And I thought it would be nice to have a few flowers too. So I just went to the garden centre and grabbed a few that I thought looked pretty. I didn't really do any research, but I like them. So we have some petunias, and I can't remember the flower's name, but it's very pretty. Added them in here, added them in over there. Went in that pot is doing really well now. And then this is where I put those ones. And at this point my blueberries were thriving. I had the first blueberry and I've now had tons. So that was really exciting. And at this point the tomatoes had grown a bit more and they needed kind of restaking. And the blueberries were doing good, and so were those pumpkins. So I'm dead leafing the pumpkins at this point. I'd say this is about the 10th of July. I'm also going to rip out some of these plants that don't need to be here anymore. I probably should have done that before I put the flowers in, but I didn't, so that's okay. These are old lettuce that I've kind of overgrown. I also found 2 avocados grown in the compost, so I got them into pots. I got them into somewhat sandy soil because apparently that's what they need. I literally just put the stones in the compost, they started growing. But I don't know how well they've been doing since then because there's no signs of growth. So we'll see on that front. And then once I got the lettuce out, I planted some more lettuce and some carrots into that pot. But they've not been doing very well, and I think it's because we've had a severe drought, so they're just not getting enough water. I'm watering canning them, obviously, but it's quite difficult to water can the whole garden and make sure you're getting the seeds as well. So this is kind of my tour. I'll find the exact date for this, 1 second. But you can see the pumpkins are doing so well. I'm so happy with them. And they're even trellising at the back of the greenhouse, which I think is super fun. I'm not sure if that's good, but it's fun. The greenhouse looks so good with all the plants inside. My raspberry bush is doing quite well. I've had a few raspberries. The blueberry bush is doing super well. The strawberries have stopped producing now, but that's expected. And then all the chili plants are doing really well. Got a bunch of things planted as well. Walked into the greenhouse, but that's just me. Carrots there. The plants, this is when I'd mulched them. This was just before the hosepipe ban came into place, so I needed to really make sure I was watering these plants. I did not anticipate it lasting so long though. Pull out that weed. I believe this was about the 10th of July. My potatoes were basically dead. I pulled them out a couple of days later. Cucumber there that I planted in there. Some of the stuff looks good. I had some sage coming up and some thyme, I think that is, from the seeds that I planted. So that's exciting. The carrots back there, links behind them. That bed's going crazy. And basically just so much stuff, and I'm really grateful we're getting lots of stuff out of the garden now. So thank you for watching, and have a good rest of your day. Bye!